guys? It's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 91, here with my always brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek. Fight Geek, how you doing today, bro?
Doing excellent, man. Lots to break down from the last week in MMA. Excited to be here. How are you?
I'm doing well. A lot indeed. Here's what's on tap today, folks. Very quickly, we're going to start off with an opening question for Fight Geek. Then it's a recap and review of UFC 257. What a card that was. Then we're moving on to quick preview and picks for UFC Vegas 18, Overeem versus Volkov, which is not this coming weekend, but next weekend. Fight Geek, I guess you're too famous for us, so you're taking the week off, and now we got to cover this fight card early. What's the deal?
Duty calls, man. I'll be out of town on a business trip, but we will be back
all right.
The following week.
We will, absolutely, absolutely. I'm just messing around with Fight Geek there. But and then after that, it's my favorite section, listener questions and more. So, Fight Geek, let me start off the show with this question for you. Dustin Poyer had the performance of a lifetime, getting the second round TKO against Conor McGregor at 2 minutes and 32 seconds of round number 2 in the main event of UFC 257. My question for you is simple. Who should Dustin Poyer fight for the vacant lightweight title, assuming that Khabib does not return? And it seems pretty clear at this point Khabib will not return. Go ahead.
Well, that's a tough one. But who do I think it will be, or who do I want? I didn't remember the question. Both. Who do I think it will be? I honestly, it will be a Conor McGregor trilogy for the belt. Who do I want? That's a little different. I could see Oliveira being the most deserving, and that is a fantastic action fight. I'm just not sure that Oliveira has a big enough name, and I'm not sure that the UFC will want to capitalize on, or will be able to capitalize on, Dustin's kind of growing fame with Oliveira. So I really think it's going to be the trilogy, to be honest.
Wow, you think it's going to be the trilogy? So, Dana White in the post-fight press conference, he said that more than likely he's going to make Poyer versus Michael Chandler for the belt. Do you take anything out of that?
That was actually prior to Dustin coming to the post-fight press conference and basically saying he'd rather sell hot sauce.
Right. No, I remember that.
So
but
what Dana White says doesn't hold,
Is Dustin calling the shots over Dana now? Because, maybe, but that's quite the change if so.
Is he what? I'm sorry.
Is Dustin calling the shots over Dana?
Well, I think at this point, without Khabib around and the fact that he just stopped Conor McGregor, the biggest star in the history of the sport, yes, I think he is in a bit of a shot-calling position because it's widely considered that he's the second best lightweight on the planet today, and if Khabib is truly retired, then he's actually the uncrowned champion. And whether or not, that's happened, I think all of us kind of understand that scenario. So in an odd way, I do think that Dustin has more power than ever right now, and that definitely comes from beating Conor, because what happens is now people are more intrigued than where that trajectory goes because of the Conor win.
Okay, fascinating. Wow, so you do think that Poyer McGregor 3 will get made for the belt. I think that's very exciting.
Yeah. That's saying if Khabib is stripped or relinquishes.
Yeah, no, we're assuming Khabib is done. And by the way, I think he made it pretty clear this week that he is 100%
Well, I think he made it clear before the fact, but Dana have drug it out with hopes that he would come back, totally missing an opportunity for this weekend's fight to be for the belt, because that would have been some way to crown Dustin as a champion. That would have been amazing. So with that being said, yeah, I think it's got to be the trilogy next. Conor is the kind of guy who likes to turn around and run it back historically.
I don't think he deserves that, Fight Geek. I don't think Conor deserves that.
He doesn't necessarily deserve it.
He just got knocked out in the second round.
What are you going to do? Are you going to risk putting the Conor we just saw in there against a killer who's ranked 4, 5, 6 and have risk losing out on a last big Conor McGregor payday?
We view this differently.
He'll always have the Nate Diaz fight, but if you let's say you match Conor up with Tony Ferguson, and Tony Ferguson destroys him in the second round like that, you can never put Conor in another title fight again. But at least right now,
so
it's
fight
1-1.
So what happens? What happens if you put Conor back in there in the summer, like you say? That's what you want, and then Dustin beats his ass again, which I am definitely thinking will happen.
Then you have.
Then what?
I don't see Conor. I mean, are we just going to kind of rotate into breaking down the fight with all this too, or?
I mean, look, we're having a conversation right now.
Conor did not look horrible in all parts of that fight. I mean, he landed some heavy shots. He's clearly a lot heavier footed than he was when he was at 145. I don't think Conor looked terrible the whole time. What I do think is that Conor has huge holes and has been figured out. So unless he adapts and really figures out how to get away from the cardio issues that he seems to have, then I think he's going to be figured out at the top, because he was a lot more
flat-footed than he was at, say, UFC 205 against Alvarez. So it's not just lightweight. I think it's just about time.
Well, true, but yeah, the Conor that fought Eddie was the apex Conor in his prime. That was 5 years ago now.
Yep.
Conor has put on a lot of muscle mass. He hasn't fought the rounds. So not only is his timing going to be, maybe not as sharp as ever, and with that said, he still was landing lightning quick power shots early. He looked like he had Dustin in trouble a couple times. It's just, the way he deals with adversity is a huge problem. And then when you turn the tables and look at the way a guy like Dustin Poyer deals with adversity within the fight, they're polar opposites. Conor McGregor is a front runner. Anytime he gets behind the 8 ball, he basically folds, and that's what we saw again here. He didn't know how to deal with the front leg kicks, and he was basically neutralized. And as soon as he, had a chance to kind of back away and get beat up, he took it. Whereas we've seen guys like Dustin Poirier many times against Justin Gaethje backed up against the cage, taking an onslaught almost out and find a way to regroup and come back. So
yeah, absolutely. So
let me just finish this real quick, and I'll just say I think Conor has more to show. I think his level of arrogance towards a fighter like Dustin Poirier in his prime, with hours and hours and hours of blood and guts footage, to come in and say you're going to knock him out in 60 seconds. And by the way, his cardio.
Okay, this isn't a presidential speech here,
All
Frankie.
right.
So all right. I hear what you're saying. Here's my question though. Look. John Kavanagh went on to Ariel Helwani's show the other day and said he was shocked that Dustin was able to implement a lower calf kicking game, and after 3 or 4 leg kicks, Conor was totally done, and that they hadn't been preparing for that, because while they had been kicking during sparring, he started making all these preposterous excuses that you never try to hurt your opponent in sparring, and we'll have to account for that now. And it was to me, it was shocking that Kavanagh would admit something as embarrassing as, we weren't expecting lower calf kicks. Is John Kavanagh a fraud? Yes or no? Is he a fraud?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Is John Kavanagh a fraud, BJJ instructor, or has he helped Conor?
I'm not going to call anyone a fraud, but I will say that, as far as elite MMA coaching, I don't think Conor has had any yet.
Do you think that Conor needs to change gyms to continue to have success at the the top tier level of UFC?
I don't necessarily think he has to, but he has to fight more than once per year. And
he's surrounded by yes men. We both know it. He is surrounded by yes men.
He needs to get someone who understands the science of cardio and help him build that, because Conor McGregor,
he didn't even seem tired though. That's what's so disturbing.
What are you talking about? He was, after the early clinch work, his arms were heavy. His punches were much more labored. He was, even in some of those slowed down gifs and stuff, you see where Dustin hits him with the right hook and points at him. Both of Conor's shots during that exchange, it looks like his arms are extremely heavy and labored. They're not snappy at all.
I'm going off of what Kavanagh said. Kavanagh said the biggest positive was that Conor didn't seem tired at all. Kavanagh was saying that's the big positive takeaway.
Because when I was looking at it and when I watch it, you can see visibly that Conor McGregor, his arms are heavy after the clinches. Yes, he's still throwing them, but he's not throwing them nearly as snappy. And then towards the end, when they're in exchanges towards the end, Conor's punches don't have much on him, hence the reason he could not back up Poirier, who charged in and knocked him out.
Yeah, I mean, it's time to move on. We're gonna move on,
Right.
but in short, honestly, I think it's a really alarming loss for Conor McGregor. He got, they listed as a TKO. All right, fine. He was knocked unconscious. We all saw that. It was a KO knockout.
It was a damning KO.
It was a
for
damning KO. It was not a good loss, and it was highly problematic.
Well, see, that's what's tough though, is because he didn't look horrible up until his glaring
I think that
weaknesses.
almost makes it worse, though. Do you know what I'm
The
saying?
reason he lost are very elementary, so there's hope.
Yeah. Anyways, okay.
It's not like he got, the game plan wasn't that diverse. He lost because of leg kicks and cardio. He couldn't defend himself.
He also
Those
wasn't controlling range like he used to in earlier fights, like against
But
Eddie.
I can count 3 or 4 times where he snapped Dustin's head back with
absolutely
full power shots. So he was not the same Conor McGregor we've come to know, the Eddie Alvarez Conor McGregor. He was still showed and I hate to give him any validation on his excuses, but fighting once per year, and technically his last fight was 40 seconds versus Cowboy. That doesn't even count. So he hasn't even fought in multiple years, really. So his timing had to be affected somewhat.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so moving on. Michael Chandler had a incredible victory, a knockout via left hook and ground and pound at exactly, I didn't even realize, it was exactly 2 minutes and 30 seconds of round number 1 against Dan Hooker. Incredible performance from Michael Chandler.
I didn't see this coming, but, I'm starting to think that maybe all those wars in such a short period of time caught up to Dan, because Dan really looked like a deer in the headlights from the beginning.
I don't know what was going on with Dan.
He was backing up.
What was going on?
He really didn't assert any offense, and
he was just backing up the entire time. That's all he did.
He allowed Michael Chandler to stalk him the whole time, get comfortable, and I think the accumulation of beatings that he's taken in the last few years may have been the reason that. Not saying that wasn't a big shot by Chandler, but we've seen Dan Hooker take hundreds of shots in fights. So
even Poyer couldn't put him away over 5 rounds. He put Conor down in 1.5, and he couldn't.
And what Michael Chandler does have is a short, stocky wrestler. Is he has that ability to get low and come with those power shots, which that was the picture perfect, high power shot.
It was a beautiful shot. It really was. Full credit to him.
He clearly possesses power, but I think this was more of I think Dan Hooker's just a little shop-worn at this point, unfortunately.
Yeah, and he's got, I'm looking
Not taking anything away from Chandler. He aced his debut, no doubt.
By the way, Dan Hooker's record, and I know there's plenty of fighters, Masvidal, Diaz, the list goes on, plenty of superstars with strange-looking records, but it does look a little jarring to see Hooker. He's now 20-10. I don't know, just visually a little different with double-digit losses. But
yes, it is. But, when you go back and you look at the names on that guy's resume for the last 4 or 5 years, it's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
You're not going to it's just crazy. Even when he was lower, he was fighting guys in 145 who were killers.
Absolutely. Was there any other fight you wanted to cover? Are we ready to move on to our preview and picks for Overeem versus Volkov?
Yeah, let's talk about Amanda Ribas getting stopped. What'd you think of that? That was shocking.
Amanda Ribas got stopped at 257. That was horrible.
She was looking great in that fight. She was in full control. I think she got a little comfortable. And is it Rodriguez or Rodriguez? I don't know anymore.
Ooh.
But
yeah.
But she's good on her feet, and you don't want to give her too many chances. I thought that was a good back and forth fight in a way, because, like I said, Ribas was up early.
She'll be back. She'll be back. This is what my honest pick is.
Dumbest stoppage I've ever seen in my life, though. It was so weird.
Very strange stoppage.
Amanda's out. The girl walks away.
And then,
And then he puts her, and then he walks her. Then Herb Dean walks her back over there to light her up in the face again twice more, and then calls it off. Just bizarre to say the least.
Yeah, definitely bizarre. A very strange ending. I'm very impressed by Marina. I think that Amanda Ribas will be back.
Do you agree that Amanda was winning that fight until that happened?
Sure, but look, Conor McGregor was winning the Poyer fight until he got knocked the fuck out. You know what I mean? So
sure. All right, and then let's call out. I mean, Khalil Roundtree looked.
That was a
kind of
horrible loss.
It was a horrible loss. I
That
know
was
it's
a really
controversial.
bad loss.
Some people thought Khalil won. I actually thought he lost. I thought he just turned into a punching bag for the third round.
He lost, and he needs to retire.
He's lost something. I don't know what happened, but that guy was snappy and dangerous and was really ascending at one point, but that was a flat performance for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick Lentz retired after losing to Movsar Ivlov.
And I heard that was due to an eye injury?
Yeah. Apparently, he's lost at least 40% of his sight. So, look, that's nothing to mess around with.
Right. Well, thanks to Nick Lentz for leaving it in the octagon, man.
Absolutely. All right, should we move on to the February 6th card?
Let's do it.
All right. It's now time for our preview and picks of UFC Vegas 18 Overeem versus Volkov. Let's take a quick look here at the main card. So starting off, we've got Cody Stamann versus Andre Ewell at bantamweight 135.
Interesting fight here. Did you know Andre Ewell has a 10.5 inch advantage in this fight? 10.5 inches. I don't know if I've ever seen that in a fight. That's insane.
That is indeed an incredible.
With that said, I'm taking Cody Stamann to get on the inside, hit him hard, get him on the ground, and win a decision wrestling.
Do you really? I have Stamann too.
Of course I do, but that 10.5 inch reach advantage by Ewell it's a bizarre thing that could work to his advantage. But
Ewell's a huge live dog, for the record. Huge live dog here. Andre Ewell.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is a closer fight than people, would think, probably based on name value, but it's very close. And like I said, Ewell has advantages. I just think that Stamann's a little closer to being elite.
Totally agree. Moving on to the next fight, a flyweight bout. Isn't it crazy to think that flyweight was almost extinguished a few years ago? It's now like one of the premier divisions. Alexander Pantoja versus Manel Kape.
This should be a fun fight.
I got Pantoja.
You had to interrupt me, didn't you?
Because you always go first. Because you always going first.
I know. Well, we're alternating now. So I got Pantoja as well. But again, another fight that could be a pick'em fight. Both guys are very good. But Pantoja's been in the UFC a long time. Fought Davison Figueiredo to a decision 2 fights ago. So I'm high on Pantoja. Pantoja by decision.
All right. I love it. I got Pantoja by sub in the third. But, okay, moving on. This fight I love. This is really going under.
Did you know this is a rematch?
Fajada versus Daryush?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
No, you didn't. That's the most unsure I've ever heard out of you.
Oh, yeah, of course I knew it was a rematch. Are you kidding me? I just said I was looking forward to it.
It's an interesting rematch. Daryush got him the first time via decision.
UFC 179, I know.
I think Daryush is going to beat him again. I just think he's a little bit better. And actually, Beneil Dariush, since having a couple tough losses, has come back and beat Drew Dober, Jakar Close, Scott Holtzman. So he's ascending.
Wow. You know what? You know what's so fascinating here? That is the sexy pick. That's the cool pick. And I think it's the wrong pick. I totally disagree with you. I think you're crazy. I think Fajada is special, and I think he's going to win this fight with a very dominant, unanimous decision, and I don't think it'll be particularly close, by the way.
Well, welcome to the show. Thanks for disagreeing, Phil.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I know it's easy to go with Daryush. You won the original to play it safe, but I'm a risk taker, Fight Geek.
Both of these guys, I think Fajada's on a 6-fight winning streak and Daryush is on a 5-fight winning streak. So this is both. We're looking to see who's ready to crack that top 10 and really be a player.
Yup. For the next fight, all I know is that Nico Montano is not actually fighting. She's dropped out yet again.
What? Are you serious?
She is absolutely dropped out. Carol Rosa is fighting a mystery opponent. All Nico does is drop out of fights.
She's dropped out of 6 of her last 7 fights.
Hang on. Do you want me to go? Hang on. I got it.
I'm on Tapology right now.
Okay. Carol Rosa will fight Jocelyn Edwards. It's Rosa versus Jocelyn Edwards now. Nico Montano has dropped out.
Well, I got Carol Rosa either way, but I mean, Nico Montano has to be cut, doesn't she? I mean,
I thought she had to be cut a long time ago. I don't like to. The truth is, there's not many female fighters that I have a strong dislike for, but I always got time for Nico Montano because
she won
she's a
that
drug
belt.
cheat. She's a drug cheat. Remember?
She won that belt over 3 years ago and has only fought once since.
Well, she kept getting busted for drug cheating.
Wow, this is just... And what sucks is that I know she gets a lot of heat, but I actually thought she had some potential on the Ultimate Fighter.
It was fun watching her come up because she was like 14 or 15th ranked. No one, it was nice to see. It was a cool story, and I liked her. No, I liked her during the show. I'm glad you mentioned that, Fight Geek. I liked her during the show. And we
don't have a lot of native fighters either. So
yeah, exactly. She was Native American. That's cool. She could have really been. In fact, it's a huge shame. She could have been a big star. It's a really big shame what happened.
We never know until you walk in someone else's shoes. But that is a lot of cancellation. She's running the risk of being...
Well, I mean, I can judge her because of the drug cheating alone, though. So that's why I feel okay about it. But, yeah, a lot of cancellation.
You judge away.
Thank you. I will. All right, moving on to the coach.
Without sin, cast the first stone, Phil.
I'm a flawless human being. Everyone knows that. I'm an angel.
What would the equivalent of a steroid cheater in podcasting be?
The John Jones podcast? Is that me?
No. All right. All right. The real meat on the bone of this card, which is Corey Sandhagen versus Frankie Edgar. I think this is a tough matchup.
Dude, this is a fun. You know what? This card is better. I'll be honest. This main card's better than I thought it was.
It is. It's sneaky good. You're not going to get a lot of super duper stars, but there's going to be some action. This seems like a lot to bite off for Frankie Edgar at this point of his career, considering Corey Sandhagen has shown all kinds of ability. But then again, Frankie, the answer, Edgar, always comes ready to fight. So this could be upset alert, but I'm going Corey Sandhagen via third round. Actually, I'm going, third round TKO.
Ready? I got Frankie Edgar via split decision upset, baby. That's right.
If he's going to win something like a split decision. I can see
that. Split decision upset, Frankie Edgar. That's right. Go big or go home. I'm going big.
I don't see him beating Corey Sandhagen at this point. So we'll see that. That's a good one to watch.
I didn't see Aljamain Sterling beating Corey Sandhagen inside a minute, but he did. So, things can happen.
Every fight's different. That's the truth. And then it gets us to guys who have combined, a combined 105 fights at heavyweights. Alistair Overeem versus Alexander Volkov. Who you got?
That's decent math. I just kept thinking, how did you add that all up together? Okay, all right.
May have been my major.
All right. Ooh, okay. Overeem versus Volkov. What a fight. What a great fight. Look, Overeem has reinvented himself yet again. This is Overeem. I mean, I don't know if we're on 4.0, 5.0, 6.0, but Overeem just keeps reinventing himself.
Feels like a dinosaur.
It's like a dinosaur, but what's so cool about this dinosaur is that this dog keeps learning new tricks.
You want to talk about wonky records? Alistair Overeem has 18 losses and might be a top 5 heavyweight of all time.
Yeah, because he's got 47 wins. He almost has 50 MMA wins.
He has 65 MMA decisions. Think about that. And they're all at the top level.
Unreal. Anyways.
It is unreal. You got to show the Reem some love. He's always been one of my favorites.
And
I think he's
good.
in trouble in this matchup.
Volkov is very good. Volkov's very good. He's very tough.
He's big and he's technical.
Yep. Absolutely. He's got great kicks. He's got strong just sort of kickboxing skills, Muay Thai skills in general. Look, I like the Reem, baby. I got the Reem via unanimous decision.
Hate to agree here after pumping Volkov off because I think it's a pick-em fight.
You were pumping him off? You don't need to pump anyone off. Don't pump anyone off on this show. This is a kid's show.
I said pump him up.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Okay, so does that do it for this section of the film?
All right. Guys, we will be right back with listener questions and more after this very quick break. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude letting you know that this episode of the Split Decision Podcast is brought to you by TotalAggressionClothing.com. Visit www.TotalAggressionClothing.com and use the promo code 46210 to receive a special Split Podcast discount on all Total Aggression hats, shirts, hoodies, and more. Again, that's www.TotalAggressionClothing.com with promo code 46210. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 91, here with my always brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek, and it is now time for my favorite section of all,
I know we got a lot of them. Let's get into it.
Yeah, we got a lot of them today. All right, so opening question from my man, Cyrus King. That's at Cyrus King. Love Cyrus. He says, has MMA passed Conor by? Meaning, I still believe he's good, but can we honestly say he's a top 5 fighter at 155 anymore? I mean, I think 145 has always been a more dominant Conor. What do you guys think?
100% agree here. The 145-pound Conor is the best version of Conor we've ever seen. That was the most dynamic version. That was the most dominant version. So I agree there. Is he a top 5 fighter at 155 anymore? I think with the right preparations and the right mindset, he certainly is a top 5 fighter. You know, he showed us enough. He arguably has the heaviest hands at 140 or 155. I mean, even though Dustin stopped him, Dustin's still more of a thudding accumulation striker, where you see in Conor, he possesses that one strike lightning power still, even kind of, you know, not on his best day. So I think he possesses
Dustin ate it though. Dustin took that.
Well, that's because Dustin is the second best lightweight walking the planet today, and he has elite traits all over. In his cardio and chin are two of the most elite traits for Dustin.
True. Yep.
So you're not going to out cardio or out chin Dustin Poyer. That ain't going to happen. So, yeah, I think Conor has the ability to be a top 5 fighter with the right mindset, and I definitely agree that the 145 Conor, I mean, I think he's 7-0 or 9-0 at featherweight or
something like that, and
yeah,
he's
with a you know, a KO of the greatest champion of all time in the division. So yes, 145 Conor is the mystic version.
Well, and here's a quick stat for you, just off the top of my head. Conor has a better welterweight record than he does lightweight record. His lightweight record is 1-2. His welterweight in the UFC, excuse me.
It really starts sounding ugly when you talk it out. He's
in the UFC, I should clarify, and then his welterweight record 2-1.
In the lightweight division,
right?
He's 1-2, and he's been stopped twice in a row.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't see him getting back to. I don't see him getting back to 145. So for Conor, it's really going to be in the next couple months for him to decide if he wants to be the challenging for the 145 belt, getting serious Conor, or if he wants to be the fight Jorge Masvidal at 170 for money fight Conor. We don't know who he'll be yet, but that's the 2 routes we'll go from here, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, but part of Cyrus's question is asking not just can he be top 5 155ers, is he right now a top 5 155er? I'm going to go ahead and say no. He's not right now a top 5 155er. No.
I think based on what we've seen recently, him and Tony Ferguson occupy the same exact space.
That's the fight. That's the fight.
Well, that's one of the fights. But Tony Ferguson and Conor McGregor are both guys who have proven time and time and again that they're elite, but yet have a lot of question marks today.
Well, and I think I know one of the reasons I think that's the fight, though, Fight Geek, is Conor has said a lot of disrespectful things about Tony in the past that I personally really not.
Well, they used to share management. There's a lot of. I think it's time for them to fight. There's a lot of hurt feelings from Tony's side about Conor getting attention. This has been well documented.
Don't you think that's the fight? Is that not the fight?
That's not the fight I want to see, based on the fact that I'm, a pseudo fan of both guys, and I don't want to see either of those guys take a loss right now. I think neither of those guys can afford a loss, so I'd like to see both of those guys set up with fights they could win. Conor McGregor, if he's going to get back in line and try and prove himself, you know, why can't he fight a guy like, you know, Al Iaquinta? Why can't he fight a guy like that where he can come in and potentially look really good and get some of that confidence back? You know, you throw him in there versus Tony Ferguson right now and he gets Darce choked in the first round when he gets tired. Conor McGregor's ruined forever.
Oh, I think that's the truth is, the reason I love McGregor versus Ferguson isn't because I think it favors Ferguson, not at all. I think that Ferguson is very Ferguson could lose that easily. He has his chin out.
Now, honestly, right now would be the best time for Conor to get Tony. Tony's older and he's taking
That's exactly why it's the fight. That's you're proving my point. That's the fight.
Conor, if he's going to we know Conor's very calculated. Is he going to take a risk on basically losing his mystique forever against a guy who's lost 2 in a row and is ranked 5th? Or is he going to take the chance at a trilogy for a belt?
I mean, I've got news for Conor. He is in danger of losing his mystique with a loss no matter who he fights next.
He's already lost a little bit.
No matter who he fights next,
if you listen to the post-fight press conference, and Dustin Poyer specifically references the biggest difference in this fight is that he felt Conor's aura less. So that's not going to bode well for Conor, because the mystic portion of Conor's career where he was 26 years old and full of energy and passion and knew how to channel it is much different than when you're 33 coming back off of the most brutal loss of your career, trying to reinvent yourself to a certain extent. So,
no doubt.
It's a different game we're playing these days with Conor. But I don't know if we answered the question, but let's move on to the next one.
All right. You got one lined up, or is it me?
Yeah, I got one from Big Nog's Back Divot. This guy's
I love that name. What up?
Yeah, so do I. Great name. He says, why didn't Conor engage in psychological warfare before the fight? Try and get in Dustin's head. Was it A, he felt he was a much better fighter and didn't need that edge? B, his name alone sells fights, so he didn't need to sell it with trash talk? C, he's trying to clean up his image.
A, B, and C. Oh, easy.
Yeah,
A, B,
all
C.
of the above, no doubt.
All of them.
And I honestly think because Conor knocked Dustin out so quickly last time, I honestly think Conor overlooked Dustin. I do.
Oh, he completely overlooked. He was looking past him.
And that's what's crazy to me is that we've learned this time and time again that, you know, that was 6 years ago. Dustin, there's hours of footage of the development of Dustin. So for Conor to come in so arrogant and blind to those clear, I mean, go watch Dustin stop Justin Gaethje. You knew Conor wasn't going to push back like that in a war.
Look, I've already said this, but for John Kavanagh, the head coach of the biggest star in the UFC, to say that they didn't train lower calf kicks is completely outrageously unacceptable.
Especially because those have been the story of 2 of Dustin Poirier's fight, the Jim Miller fight and the Justin Gaethje fight.
Kavanagh has said on multiple occasions that the moment he feels he can no longer be a benefit to Conor's corner, he will resign. He needs to step down right now. He is a fraud and a disgrace.
Let's not let this point go unnoticed. Mikey Brown, Dustin Poirier's head coach, is arguably the best head coach in MMA today.
Without a doubt. Mike Brown is a genius. Without a doubt. Let's just be honest here.
He's also Amanda Nunes' head coach.
And by the way, I grew up hating him. I grew up literally despising him. You know why, right? Because of Faber. I grew up hating him because of Faber.
But I've called him and Trevor Whitman out multiple times as probably the 2 best coaches, in my opinion, in the game today.
I don't even know if that's, honestly, Fight Geek, I don't like to agree with you. I don't even know if that's controversial to say those are the 2 best. I mean, I'd be hard-pressed to come up with a counter-argument.
Yeah, they seem to be...
those are the 2 best. Who's going to say otherwise?
Yeah, and when you think about Mikey Brown, against kind of the picture you're painting of John Kavanagh, you can see a major disadvantage for Conor there.
Well, mostly the Kavanagh's just a fraud. He doesn't know what he's doing. And when I say fraud, I know people get a little cringy.
Sandals to the octagon side.
Well, let me explain what I mean. Let me justify a little bit, because I know what I mean is John Kavanagh is a BJJ so-called expert. And when Conor was struggling after UFC 196 with his BJJ game, he didn't go to old coach Kavanagh for help. He brought in a new guy, Dylan Dennis. So, that says everything it needs to about how helpful Kavanagh is in camps. I mean, he's the BJJ guy. They needed to bring someone else in from, and fly them to Iceland.
And Conor's been choked out twice.
Oh, I mean, we all know that. Yeah, I mean, my opinions on Kavanagh have been made clear. But
yeah, so let's keep it moving. We got other questions.
All right, you got one ready? Or is it, okay, I got one. Wait, I got one. This is from my man at Yugi MMA. Love Yugi. Despite him being a Jones fan, that's okay.
What's up, Yugi?
Yugi, here's his great question. He says, hey, dudes, if you could do a Triller-level celebrity boxing match, who would you make fight? As always, huge fan. I look forward to the next episode. John Jones is the best fighter alive. There you go, Yugi. I read it.
I don't know if John Jones is the best fighter alive.
I just had to read what he said. I don't agree with it.
I'm just joking. That's another conversation for another day. But can you explain to me what a Triller level?
Yeah. Okay, so Triller is that company that made the basically it's the Tyson. Okay. It's that Tyson Roy Jones Jr. company. I've got an answer right here. If I can just open with it, I'd love to hear your thoughts because I think it's super. Like, to me, I got excited when I saw this question. I had an answer immediately. This is Mike Tyson's next fight if he wants to truly be a big boss and make a boss move. Mike Tyson, call out Lennox Lewis for a rematch. Say, hey, Lennox, you beat me when I was lazy and out of shape at the end of my career. I want a rematch, old man. Let's go. Let's run it back. Tyson Lewis 2, baby.
Yeah.
I
mean, obviously, two sexy
it.
names to put together, but I mean, have you seen Lennox Lewis commentating these fights lately? He's a big, older-looking dude. I don't know how many
I grew up watching Lennox Lewis. Is my favorite boxer. Be careful.
You want to see Lennox
He's my favorite boxer.
Lennox Lewis, who's like a god of the boxing game, come back at 50 years old and look like a shell of himself. I'm not necessarily down with that one.
He literally is like, he was my first hero of combat sports. Probably was Lennox Lewis.
Well, I watched him knock out Mike Tyson, and as a huge Mike Tyson fan, so I respected him, but was unhappy with that.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So what's your what
level? I'm trying to think of somebody for Oscar De La Hoya. How about Oscar versus boxer size instructor Dana White? That'd be awesome.
Okay, what about Oscar versus Floyd 2?
No, because
they hate each other.
We know that Floyd can still coast. So how about Oscar versus
Manny?
Manny's still viable, so it's not fair. Manny Pacquiao would destroy Oscar.
I don't know. Manny versus Conor was all but made until Conor lost the Poyer rematch. So I don't.
For sure. Ryan is going to fight Manny Pacquiao, as bizarre as that sounds.
Yeah. So, okay. So what's your final answer?
I don't even know, dude. Celebrity boxing aren't necessarily like.
You're being so boring, bro. Come on. We got questions to answer here.
Level. I don't know. I want to see Fedor versus freaking Mike Tyson in one of those weird.
All right. Okay. I don't dislike that answer. All right. Okay. Cool. Moving on to at Mixed Man. That's Mixed Doodoo, King of the Slams. Love Mixed Man, guys. Great follow. Bald dude looks like Mr. Clean. He says, oh, hey, fellas, big schedule in the next 90 days. What are some of the matchups you're most excited for? And make a bold upset prediction. Lastly, have you tried Dustin's hot sauce yet? #AskSplitPod. Nick still love it, bro. I have not tried the hot sauce.
I have not either.
And I love hot sauce, so that's bad. I want to. Fight Geek, what's your excuse? Because are you a hot sauce guy? Because I am a hot sauce guy.
I am not a hot sauce guy, but I will be ordering some just to support a fighter that I admire.
And I mean, we're both kind of Luke Thomas fans on the DL, and Luke Thomas.
Hey, speak for yourself. I'm a Dustin Poyer.
Oh, you like Luke Thomas more than I do. Anyways, he loves it. He keeps raving about it.
Well, good.
Yeah. So,
got any thoughts on upcoming fights that you're excited about?
Yeah, and I can make a bold prediction.
All right, let's see it. Or hear it.
Gilbert Burns is going to beat Kamaru Usman by a close, unanimous decision.
Well, that's a big shocker coming from you. But on the same card...
I don't appreciate your tone, Fight Geek.
I mean, we all know you're pulling for Gil in that one. We've heard it a couple times. But I actually want to call out the Macy Barber return against Alexa Grasso. These are two of my absolute favorite young prospects in women's MMA. I think it's a tough fight for Macy to come back against, but I'm really looking forward to it. Not necessarily ready to make a bold prediction in that one. I just think that's a great fight for a call out, since you already called out the title fight there, which goes without saying.
You guys see this? Listen to this tone I have to put up with. Unbelievable tone.
Hey, guess what? We're excited for McGregor Poyer. Yeah.
Okay, I'm very, very happy that Macy, the villain of the UFC's female divisions, has returned. I too look forward to her return against Alexa Grasso.
Well, that's just a fun matchup between two girls who are good at striking in the pocket. That should be a great matchup.
But I agree with you. I do agree with you on something here. I like both fighters, so it's a little unfortunate that they're fighting.
Well, it's one of those fights where you want to see both of them win, but yeah, what are you going to do?
Okay, all right, and just looking at the fights on this card really fast, Kelvin Gaslim versus Ian Hines. Do you have any thoughts on that fight?
I mean, it's a trap fight for Kelvin, kind of a crossroads fight for Kelvin, but
he can't lose that. He cannot.
He cannot, but I don't think he will. Also, since
Hines is dangerous. He's 14-3. He's a dangerous guy.
Well, yes, he is. He's a powerful guy. But, Kelvin Gastelum at his best took, Israel Adesanya to within an inch of his life.
Sure.
So at his best, Kelvin Gastelum is truly elite. So
absolutely.
I also want to call out Dominic Reyes versus Jiří Procházka.
Oh, good call. Good call.
That's a madness fight, and I'll make a bold prediction. Jiří Procházka wins by knockout and is the next title challenger.
Is that even a bold prediction? Because I completely agree, but I feel
it's 6 versus 3, so it's.
I totally agree that Jiří is gonna win that. I think Dominic Reyes is. I actually feel bad for Reyes. I think he could be in really big trouble with these matchups. I mean, Procházka was not a good fight to draw for Mr. Dominic.
Right. And then there's also Alexander Hernandez versus Thiago Moyes. I know it's not a huge name fight, but that'll be a fun one.
That'll be a fun one. Yeah, absolutely. Who you got in that?
Oh, I'm going with Alexander Hernandez. I'm one of the last guys.
You love that guy. You love
I'm one of the last guys on that hype train. Hopefully one day he'll turn the corner.
Yeah. All right.
He's had some ups and downs, but he's shown some promise.
Absolutely. Love the question, Mixed Man. All right, so next question got from my main man, Zan Bando. That's at ZanBando99. He says, hey, guys. First, will Charles Oliveira get passed over in favor of Michael Chandler for the next lightweight title? If that's the case, who does Oliveira fight next? And second, should the UFC disband the pay-per-view model and put all of its events on regular ESPN+? So let's tackle the second question first, Fight Geek. Should the UFC disband the pay-per-view model and put all of its events on regular ESPN+? My answer is no.
Yeah, especially considering that early numbers are 1.6 for the
1.6 million. Yeah. So Zan, my thoughts are,
which makes it like the 5th largest card ever.
Right. My thoughts are 257 did 1.6 million pay-per-view buys. You'd be basically throwing all of that money that you got, literally into the garbage if you get rid of the pay-per-view model on that, because all of the events already are on ESPN Plus exclusively. It's just that they charge for the pay-per-view price, right? So to get rid of the pay-per-view price and just put it on ESPN Plus, that would just be essentially how it is now, except you give them the fights for free. So I think that would be a really bad business decision.
Yeah, no doubt. They're not going to do that because, like I said, anytime they have a star like Conor McGregor, they can guarantee they're going to hit 1 million pay-per-views. There's no reason to go away from that.
Absolutely. And then, so his first question, will Charles Oliveira get passed over for Chandler? If so, who does Oliveira fight next? So let's assume Chandler fights Poyer next. Then who does Oliveira fight? Go ahead, Fight Geek.
Gaethje?
Yeah, I mean,
rankings-wise, that's the only thing that makes sense. I don't know why Charles Oliveira at this point on a 7-fight win streak would go backwards. There's no one backwards for him to fight unless it was going to be a Conor McGregor with that kind of name value, which that's not a fight Conor's going to be taking. So at this point, it's Justin Gaethje or wait.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that Gaethje's that fight to make. So yeah, I think that's
But I think Gaethje's talking to Nate Diaz right now, right? Or
yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't want to I don't want to waste time speculating on Nate Diaz. He's just too much of a wild card.
fair enough.
Okay, so this question comes from our man Kairos MMA. That's at Kairos MMA. He says, "My question is, what the fuck is the UFC doing with the straw weights?" I'm trying to interpret that. I don't know exactly what he means. I'm guessing he means why has Zhang not defended yet? And I think the answer is because Dana is in a bit of a money showdown with Rose Namajunas about her title fight money. Is that correct?
I know about that. Definitely it has to do with the fact that both of those, Joanna and Zhang both took the beating of a. They're both small women and probably took a longer time to recover and sit out, especially since Rose is always kind of the wild card. Whereas, is she fighting? Does she want to fight? Is she feeling like fighting? Does she want to taste a title? Is she challenging herself? Like, what is Rose doing? It is always kind of on the back of everyone's mind. So with those two things combined, I think that's why the long delay. And also, I think the UFC wants to make the rematch with Joanna, who's been clear that she wants to fight when fans come back.
Right. Which is a little bit odd for a non-champion to state. I mean, I'm not trying to be in any way disrespectful to JJ.
I think she mentioned that at least 3 times that she doesn't plan on coming back until she can fight in front of fans, right?
Yeah, she has repeatedly said that, which, by the way, is...
So maybe the UFC has been trying to negotiate a rematch that was arguably the fight of the year, and Joanna's holding it with negotiation. So maybe it's not Rose at all.
It's possible. I know that Rose is very interested in that title fight. I know that Dana, mentioned that.
But like I said, Rose, I mean, she comes, she goes, we never know. She's never on schedule, anyways.
Are you trying to say that you wouldn't want a Rose versus
Zhang
title fight? Because that would be an amazing fight.
No, that is the fight to make right now, for sure. But I'm just saying, giving you reasons what they could be doing. I'm just saying, maybe Joanna's playing hardball behind the scenes and they want that rematch because of how great of a fight it was. That's just one theory.
Absolutely. Very possible. I would have assumed that they would just tell, if Joanna was playing hardball, I'd assume they would just kind of be like, okay, just chill out, just chill, sit there and chill, and then they'd offer it to someone else and let, JJ chill and then offer it to her later. But I have zero evidence of that. I'm just speculating.
And I mean, if you're Zhang, honestly, there's 2 fights for you. There's only 2 fights.
There's only 2, that's for sure.
Or Rose. There's the only 2 girls to fight, so it's been a year. Figure one out.
Totally agree. All right, next question from our man, Tabs. That's at Tabs1172. Love this guy. He says, what's next for McGregor? He said he wants 2 more fights this year. So who do you see those 2 opponents being? Fikey, go ahead.
Well, like I said, I'm going to stick with what I said earlier. I think he'll come back in 3-4 months and fight Dustin Poirier for the belt in a trilogy. And then...
Man, that'll be so undeserved if he gets that.
And then let's say, win or lose, he'll fight Nate Diaz next. So he'll fight Dustin Poirier and Nate Diaz this year.
Okay. I actually don't dislike that answer. What I really dislike about that answer is just the order, that's all. I think he's going to fight Nate Diaz first.
But then if he loses to Nate Diaz, you can never put him in another title fight, dude. They're not going to do that.
It doesn't matter. You've got to make Conor needs a win. Look, this isn't WWE. Fight Geek, it's not WWE. You've got to win and lose with the sport.
From last weekend loses to Nate at 155 though. Nate drags him into the second, third round and does the same thing to him or wins a decision 100% in my mind. Conor McGregor is not going to knock out Nate Diaz at 155 in the first round, which means that Conor McGregor that's getting tired and worn out and winded is going to have to fight Nate in the third, fourth, and fifth.
So do you like Conor's chances against Poyer in an immediate rematch in the summer more than against Nate Diaz?
I'm not sure I'm saying that, but I think it's more likely for Conor to get a flash knockout win versus Dustin than it is Nate, and that's what he needs.
Well, remember, it would be a lightweight, so that does change some things about the Diaz
Well,
matchup.
Nate's been finished once at lightweight in like 20 plus career fights, so, and it was by a vicious head kick from Josh Thompson. So,
Well, listen, there's no doubt about this. I mean, Connor is gonna have hard fights. He's a
not only that,
superstar.
but Nate believes he beat Conor both times, so I think he might actually have the mental edge in that fight, knowing that if he can elongate it to the second, third round, he's going to have a big advantage versus Conor. So I think Nate's confidence would be high against Conor.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything you're saying is true. Look, I think that the reality is that Conor is a huge star in the sport, but at the same time, he's not going to be gifted Drew Dobers or Alexander Hernandez's right now. He's got a headline pay-per-views, and with that
he's
comes
not even
hard
going to have.
fights.
That's why I don't think he'll fight Gaethje or Tony. He's going to fight the guys who he's had success against before, and guys that are going to sell a ton of pay-per-views.
So Nate Diaz
and Dustin Poirier. Yeah. If he were to do a rematch with Dustin Poirier after getting knocked out, the rematch does 2 million buys guaranteed. If he goes and fights Nate Diaz and loses, you're never going to get that 2 million buy title fight. Him and Nate Diaz probably do 1.8 right now.
Yeah.
So either way, people are trying to say Conor's, earning power and his draw is gone. Conor coming off this bad loss is going to be more intriguing in a comeback than ever before. People are going to be, his next fight might be the most watched fight in UFC history just because of the fact that he lost so badly.
I mean, I'm certainly extremely interested. Count me in.
Oh my God. No matter who Conor fights next, the world will be watching 100%.
Yeah, I'm certainly very interested. And
Conor's earning power as a pay-per-view draw has not taken a hit for the time being. But let's say he gets stopped again. Oh, it's all downhill from there.
Yeah, really, really quick. Last thing I'll say about that, I just want to get in really fast. I do think that in the long term, McGregor's loss to Poyer at 257 specifically was good for the sport. I know people might be getting upset at that. I'm saying this because we all know that if McGregor would have won the belt, after, let's say, he beats Poyer, then he wins the belt against, let's just say, Chandler, hypothetical, he was definitely going to go box Manny. He'd made that very clear. And I'm kind of glad that Conor may be forced to focus on MMA.
And it just goes to show you in this game, everything came easy for Conor in the first 11 fights of his career in the UFC.
And he doesn't even have a real MMA gym.
There's nothing easy left for him at 32 years old. In the fight game. Obviously, he's got a great life, a great family, the money in the world. But what's left for Conor is all hard work at 32 years old.
Absolutely. And does he, look, again, I don't want to talk too much longer about this, but does Conor deserve a little bit of extra credit? Because I believe that he accomplished what he did in spite of his gym, despite his gym, not because of it.
Conor accomplished what he did because he's very gifted.
Yeah, I don't think he did it because John Kavanagh whispered in his ear.
And Conor's never been a complete fighter. The biggest thing about Conor and Mystic Max was the way he would channel his inner confidence and his kind of inner self-belief and turn it into energy and use that to his advantage. He's not that man anymore. You can see it in his eyes. One thing, I know we're sidetracked all episode, but I thought it was really telling that when he went to the beginning of the, how he goes and he touches his chest and he kisses and he opens his heart. Again, kind of back to what Dustin was saying, the aura was just not there. It was rehearsed. It was not in the moment. I didn't believe him like I believed him in the past. So as much as there was technical deficiencies from Conor needs to believe and feel invincible to beat Conor. And I think these elite fighters can really put him in positions to not do that at this point. So Absolutely. So next question comes from Juice at Fighting With Myself podcast. That's FWM_POD. Juice, what's up? Love Juice. He says, is there a better time to do the Max Holloway versus Conor McGregor rematch? Also, if that fight were to happen at 155, who do you favor? #AskSplitPod. What a fun question. Yeah, I don't like that fight at 155 for Max still. I just don't like Max as a 155er. Just don't like
I'm not. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking it's not fair. McGregor puts him away. I am not at all convinced. I really am not. I think it's worth. People need to remember Poyer versus Holloway 2 was not the dominating performance that a lot of Poyer fans think it was. It wasn't. It was 3-2. It was a close fight.
No, it was a close fight. It was lopsided early, and then Max came back because Max has a legendary chin and cardio and game plan, whereas Conor has no legendary cardio, no legendary chin, and no legendary game plan. So you saw what happens whenever you get pushed back. So that's the difference. But Max is a 145er. We just saw Max at his absolute best at 145. He has title aspirations at 145 to cement himself as no doubt the greatest featherweight of all time. The Conor McGregor fight coming off a loss really makes no sense at 155 in my opinion.
Yeah, difficult to agree with you, but unfortunately, I do agree.
Conor has a bunch of fights, and so do Max, but they're just not each other.
But who would you favor, hypothetically? Because let me just go ahead and say it. I got Holloway by unanimous decision, if not 4th or 5th round TKO stoppage.
I mean, it's so hard to say that.
I don't think that McGregor can put him away early.
We don't know anything about Conor's next step. We don't know if Conor's going to rededicate himself and come back sharper. But, the things that really dismantled Conor this past weekend are not really things that Max does. Max isn't super heavy with, the front calf kick. He's more will poke you and teep kick and stuff like that. And he's more of an accumulation striker with less power than Dustin. So if Conor were to land some of those bigger strikes that he landed on Dustin and Max at 155 in the first round, could he stop Max? Sure he could.
Yep, absolutely.
So yeah, I don't necessarily think that's the best fight for either of those guys right now.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So next question comes from our man, Justin Taylor. That's at I am Tustin Jailer. He switched those 2 letters, very clever. He's got an emoji of a broken heart next to him. Justin, I hope that you have success in your love life and that love finds you again. Please believe in yourself. It will happen, all joking aside. Okay, that was weird to me. Who do you see having the biggest...
You became Dr. Phil.
All right. Yeah, I have always been Dr. Phil. Who do you see having the biggest chance of losing their belt this year, says Justin. That's a fun one. Do you want to go first?
Best chance of losing their belt this year. Jan Blachowicz.
Such a boring answer. Yes.
Fine. Stipe Miocic.
No! Why did you take... You can't say 2. You stole mine. You literally said a boring answer, and then you stole my next one.
They're the 2 most boring answers.
Bro, how could you steal my answer after giving a boring one?
They're equally boring.
I'm mad at you. I'm legit annoyed at you for stealing the Stipe.
What do you think? That it's some novel thought process to think that Francis could knock out Stipe?
What about Davis and Figueiredo? I thought Brandon's your boy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. I don't see Figueiredo losing. All right, let's say, okay. I'll make a third choice. Peter Yan.
Yeah, that's another. Yeah, yeah. Yes. Yes, we all agree.
All right, Alexander Volkanovski. I'll list them all for you.
And you know what the funniest answer? You know what the funniest fact is that the truest answer may very well be whoever the lightweight champion is. Right? That could become a hot potato belt very easily. I don't think it's hard to picture lightweight becoming a hot potato belt right now.
I could almost picture Dustin Poirier, if he were to win an undisputed title, just retiring.
Oh, that would suck. As much as, all respect to Khabib, I love Khabib, but I do not like that Khabib retired while still undefeated. I wish he would have kept going, And
at a relatively young age.
Yeah, look, I won't lie, I'm disappointed. That doesn't mean I'm disappointed in him personally.
Question, though. I know no one's going to ask this, but if you were to make Conor McGregor versus RDA right now, that fight is super intriguing to me, and I think it's a horrible matchup for RDA. What do you think?
You think it's a horrible matchup for
No,
RDA?
I think it's a horrible matchup for Conor.
Yeah, I was just about to be like, what are you talking about, man? I think that's a nightmare for Conor.
If you look at everybody 7 and above, RDA, cardio, grappling, Tony, cardio, grappling, Michael Chandler, grappling, Charles Oliveira, submissions, cardio, grappling, Justin Gaethje, grappling, wrestling, cardio.
And calf kicks. Justin Gaethje, calf kicks.
So we're talking about, I mean, the top 5 does not look like a lot of favorable matchups for Conor.
No, because think about it. If you get put against Conor right now, what are you gonna do? If I am the opponent,
you're gonna clinch him and
I'm calf kicking. All I'm doing is calf kicking. Like literally, I just become obsessed with training calf kicks.
Well, he's clearly gonna be aware of those next time.
Well, I know, but there's only so much he can do. He said he thought he was checking.
The best person you could probably put him, like if you put him versus Paul Felder, he'd look good. If you put him versus Ally Quinta, he'd look good.
You think he can put Paul Felder away? I don't know, man.
I think he's significantly faster and more explosive than Paul Felder. I think he would catch Paul Felder, break his nose early, and we're talking about Conor's next fight. So Conor,
I think he'd break his nose too, but I'm not at all convinced he'd win.
I would. I'm just naming guys I would favor him against.
I agree he'd break Paul's nose. I'm not at all convinced he would win the fight.
Well, I'm just saying, I think he could win that fight.
Oh, he definitely could, yeah.
Paul's not going to institute a lot of grappling. Paul's not a, super high volume striker, even though he's a very, good striker. He's the kind of striker that, Conor may feel comfortable with, I feel like. So
yeah. All right, okay, hang on. We got to move on or we're going to be here all night. I just saw how many questions we got left. All right, so real quick, from my man, Jalen Ware at Strive2B _GR8. Guys, just follow Jalen. We've already said it. If you're not following him, you don't listen to us. So please, just listen. He says, am I crazy for thinking that Ronda Rousey had a bigger UFC debut than Michael Chandler? Hers was for the belt and did launch women's MMA into the UFC. Who do you feel had the best UFC debut? #AskSplitPod.
Well, what are we talking about best? Are we talking about biggest impact or best actual performance?
I think it can be interpreted in whichever way you feel necessary.
Because the greatest debut I've ever seen was Anderson Silva absolutely starching Chris Lieben, who had an iron chin at the time and was considered a very...
That's a good one. That's a good one, actually.
A tough guy to this day. And watch that fight. Anderson Silva is teeing off him. And Anderson came in with a lot of, back then MMA was a little shadier, a little seedier, so you hadn't seen all of Anderson's fight, just heard about him. So when he came to the UFC, and I think it was on Versus or something?
I believe so. Like that sounds right.
And wow, it was like, I don't even think it was an arena. I think it was Anderson in like the Hard Rock Cafe and beating up Chris Lieben. Best debut I've ever seen.
Okay, all right. I'm going to go ahead and I'm not happy about it, but I'm going to say Michael Chandler is the most impressive. Yeah, I agree that Rousey...
And is Michael Chandler more impressive than Justin Gaethje versus Michael Johnson?
Yeah, because here's the answer.
Michael Johnson didn't
Gaethje was badly hurt. He was on ice skates. He was almost finished.
That makes him more impressive.
Okay, well, we're just disagreeing on the definition. I'm talking about most dominant.
Oh, most dominant. I think there's many ways to break it
down.
But I never thought Ronda's debut was that great. A, she was handed the belt. B, she almost got submitted in the first round. So it wasn't necessarily the best performance. Actually, it's one of the most forgettable performances of Ronda's career, in my humble opinion.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so moving on to TB Scouting MMA. That's at TB Scouting MMA. Do you guys see Dustin moving up to 170 anytime soon? #AskSplitPod.
Only if he gets the belt, and I don't think that he has a lot of interest in fighting anyone other than Colby Covington.
Right, which I don't know why he keeps...
All the rest
I don't
of the guys
see that
like
matching up well for him stylistically, just for the record. I really don't.
Well, we haven't seen Colby since he got his chin broken, so...
What do you mean? We saw him against Tyron Woodley.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I know. It's hard for me to give much credence to a win over Tyron Woodley today.
He's only the third greatest welterweight of all time.
The night he was about the 300th best.
Yeah. He's having a bad fall.
Now I'm seeing strange clips of his buttocks all over MMA Twitter. What is going on with T Wood?
I don't know. I don't know why you had to bring that up. I was trying to get through the episode without mentioning.
Can we get that guy an intervention? I mean, he seemed like he had so much going for him at one point. Now it seems like whoever's calling the career shots is just calling everyone wrong.
Has he put all of his money into injecting, butt shots? I mean, what is going on? It's like Kim Kardashian over there. He's just filming his butt in like little G-strings. Like, we don't need to see that. And then
he has a quote saying he wants to put on a performance next, like Max just had. It's like, dude, that ain't happening. We know that ain't happening.
Bro, I'm so sad though. Like,
Max
I don't know.
throws more punches in 1 minute today than Tyron Woodley throws a 5-round fight.
Dude, stop. I like Woodley. Like, I'm like a loyal dude. I back
like
Woodley.
Too,
I like him. I feel sorry for him. Every time Chael Sonnen's on his podcast, Chael's always like, Tyron's a good-looking guy, and I always think of his little tiny button eyes. He's got the smallest eyes in the world. I don't know why Chael thinks he's a good-looking dude.
Why are you talking about looks? Let's keep it moving here.
No, I think this is what our people want to hear.
They want to hear what
Moving on.
You heard it here, guys. Phil's a big T Wood fan, and he likes to talk about his eyes.
And his ass. Okay, let's stop. We're losing all the fans. Or the listeners. All the listeners are gone. Okay, go ahead. What's your question? You got
one? I don't. What is this name? It's
at Zoe yours truly.
I'd cluck or some. I don't know. I'd cluck or some. I guess that's
I see what you're looking at. Okay.
He says, Chandler, Poyer, Oliveira. How do you rank these three? Not in who deserves a title shot, but just in terms of who beats who, regardless of ranking. You want to go?
Yeah, no problem. Poyer defeats Oliveira, who defeats Chandler.
I would say Poyer defeats Chandler and Oliveira. Oliveira loses to Poyer, beats Chandler. Chandler loses to both of them.
Okay, that was wow, math really was your major, wasn't it? What a nerdy way to say that.
'Twas. All right.
That was like the nerdiest way to word that. You were such a math guy.
I worded it in a way that the listeners could understand.
All right, we're not all math people. Okay, so
I made a button with the business major.
Okay. So this is from Zoe. You know the vibes at Zoe. Yours truly. ZO. Yours truly. Who is the best fight for Dustin Oliveira? Who's the best fight for Dustin? Oliveira or Chandler? Which fight will favor him more? Also, if you guys fight, who would win? Okay, so we've answered. I feel like people always ask if we fight, who would win. Isn't that like the new? That's a question we get asked a lot now.
I think we've been asked many times, so we already know.
Everyone knows I would win.
We've already discussed this. You're crazier and more unpredictable. I'm meaner and tougher.
You're not tougher. Yeah, you ain't tougher, bro.
You live in California.
You ain't won a boxing match with a broken nose like I have.
Oh my God, you're talking about your boxing sparring practice? Come
on. Please. Okay. Oh my God, we got to make this fight, guys. Listen. Let us know if you're willing to spend $10 or $15 for a quick fight between me and Fight Geek, because
if we could orchestrate a pay-per-view,
if it makes dollars, it makes sense, guys.
I'll beat you up on my iPhone.
I love it. Yo, I love the trash talk. Oh my God, I'm gonna knock your ass out. Yo, if it makes dollars, it makes sense, guys. Let's make it happen. Seriously.
Styles make fights, and Phil has a horrible one. You've seen his
guys. Oh my God, reach out to your cable company and demand the MMA dude versus the Fight Geek.
All right, let's
say you need that fight.
You need that fight. Undercard of Jake Paul versus Ben Askren.
I'm canceling my cable unless I get MMA dude versus Fight Geek.
We'll be the curtain jerker for that pay-per-view.
Oh man.
All right, what do we got here? We've got Matt at Gogo Staffa MMA. Clever name.
What up?
He said Shevchenko versus Calderwood. If that's the next fight, do you think it'll be a Muay Thai fight, as both are experts in that area? After Heba's surprising loss, do you think she should move up to flyweight? Do you really think Conor is a 155er? He lost 2 in a row in the division. Hashtag #ISplit Thanks for the questions. I think that fight between Shevchenko and Calderwood will go wherever Valentina wants it to go, whenever she wants it to go there. So if she wants to tie fight Calderwood, she will. If she wants to grapple, she will. If she wants to push her against the fence, she will. There's just so many levels between Valentina and the other girls, and that's just the way I see it. Hebus was looking great until she got caught from a good striker, so no, I don't think she should move up. And Conor is a 155er. I don't think he's going to compete with the elite 170-pound guys. They present the same problems as the elite 155ers. They're just bigger and stronger. So his best bet is to really hone in at 155 and get his game plan, his cardio right.
Yeah, I agree. And again, it's worth noting, Conor McGregor in the UFC, I want to stress, his UFC lightweight record 1-2, his UFC welterweight record 2-1. So,
I know, but one of his wins at welterweight is Cowboy, and the other one's Nate Diaz, which are neither are true welterweights. So those are kind of
it's an interesting stat, you have to admit.
Meanwhile, Conor McGregor at lightweight has fought Eddie Alvarez, Khabib, and Dustin Poyer, arguably the best 3 lightweights to ever walk the earth.
Yeah, slow down on Eddie, but the other two, yeah.
Well, Eddie's resume over multiple promotions stacks up versus any lightweight in history. So for Conor to have those 3 matchups as his lightweight opponents makes it impossible for anyone to say that he hasn't fought the absolute best in the toughest era ever of lightweights.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, so hang on. Have we asked the question from our good friend Eduardo, that's at Landa Crew, which fighters have the best outside endeavors? #AskSplitPod?
He has not, but what do you think?
So, my immediate first thought, as annoying as it is, okay, wait, you were going to say who?
Well, Proper 12's up there.
I was just going to say McGregor, unfortunately.
He's clearly made a ton of money.
Proper 12, McGregor Sports and Entertainment.
The McGregor Fast.
Yeah, and by the way, it's easy to laugh at McGregor Sports and Entertainment. Believe me, I was one of the original people to laugh at it. But to their credit, they're all over the octagon every single event.
And they're doing, Proper 12 promos and
they're
have
all
a logo
over.
displayed.
They're all over. They're on every single fight card. There's Proper 12
Conor might have made more money with Proper 12 logos last weekend than he did fighting, believe me.
Might have. I'm sure he did.
So Conor McGregor has been great outside the octagon. I'm going to say some other names that aren't necessarily, business ventures, but people like DC and Michael Bisping who have really become
Paul Felder. What about Paul Felder?
Paul Felder. Those 3 in particular have all become A-plus analysts, and DC and Michael Bisping have actually crossed over into pop culture and are known across multiple platforms, not just the MMA crowds.
100%. And I think if, just to go back to Paul Felder really quick, just to give him a little bit of extra shine, what's so impressive to me about Paul Felder accomplishing essentially what DC and Bisping did, you're right that it's not quite the same. They have, Paul's not into pop culture. He hasn't crossed over like DC and Bisping did. But Paul did it with so much less professional success. He's never been champion, nor has he been close, right?
For sure. He's just a really good analyst and a likable guy who's got some fancy, aggressive striking. So.
Yep. Exactly.
Paul Felder is a good fighter, a very, very good fighter. Not quite elite fighter, but he definitely has made a path for himself outside the UFC. I think you're right. Aber has actually been pretty successful outside the octagon. I know Rory McDonald and Ben Askren with Bitcoin have been super. Chael Sonnen outside of the UFC has been, massively successful. So those are just some names.
Yeah, Chael's a great example. Chael's strange because, look, it's no surprise that...
Because he got caught on juice twice?
Well, it's no surprise that I'm a huge Chael fan, but I could listen to him read the dictionary.
Why does he have to yell all the time?
I like the yelling.
Sometimes I just wonder if, is that a shtick, or is that really how he talks to his wife every night?
Oh, please stop.
All right. So do we have any more of the written questions?
I know we've got definitely some juicy voicemail questions because people told me. Oh, wait. And then, have we asked a question from Dean Dog? Because I believe he sent me We did not.
We have not.
Okay. This is the last one. Okay, here's my question for the podcast, Phil. Do either of you guys think that Conor losing has anything to do with his excess lifestyle and too many yes men? I mean, it has to be hard to stay hungry when everyone is kissing your ass. As always, peace. #AskSplitPod. In short, Dean, yes, absolutely. I think he's definitely gotten too comfortable with his lifestyle. I think he runs his camps on his own. He's surrounded by yes men, and clearly it's starting to really have some consequences.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, so let's cue some up. I got one here from Smokey J.
Smokey J, what up?
Legends from the Split Decision podcast. It's Smokey J here from Australia. If you know anything about me, guys, you know that I'm going to take every opportunity I can to shout out my fellow countrymen, especially when their fights get announced, and that's happened twice recently. We got the champ, fucking Alexander Volkanovski, taking on none other than Brian T. City Ortega. And just yesterday, I think it was announced that fucking Rob Whittaker's going to be fighting Paulo Costa. Probably for a fucking number one spot. So yeah, we got fucking Volkanovski back in the mix and Rob Whittaker now against Paulo. What do you think about those matchups, guys? And how do you think me fucking Australian dudes are going to come out of those fights? That's all, dudes. Bye.
Thanks for the questions. Now, let me just refresh my memory. Isn't Smokey J a huge Brian Ortega fan?
I was just about to say one of the things.
He's got Ortega going against his countryman Volkanovski.
But that's why I love MMA Twitter so much. I was just gonna say that's what I love so much about it. Smokey J's the man, everyone. If you're not following him, follow him now. First of all, second of all, man, I'm from the U.S. I hate Ortega and was rooting for the Korean zombie from Korea. He loves Ortega. He's from Australia. He's rooting for the American in the Volkanovski match, and it's beautiful. I love it. I love it. And Smokey J, look, I've got good news for Smokey J. In my opinion, at least, I think Ortega versus Volkanovski is a really close fight, a hard fight to call. But gun to my head, I like Ortega by decision.
And I like Ortega, too, in that matchup. I actually like Ortega by submission.
Really? You think he submits
him
Volk?
Jumping guillotine or something like he did versus Cub Swanson? I think one thing people forget is that Brian Ortega, he's T-City, Triangle City. He is an unbelievable submission artist. And you haven't seen that recently because he's been kind of in love with his striking, but I think that could show its head versus Volkanovski.
Absolutely. I'm still in shock about his performance against the Korean zombie, to be honest. He's amazing.
And then Robert Whittaker versus Costa. Whew, that's a good one. That's a tough fight. Props to Robert Whittaker for having the balls to take a challenge like that when he should already have a title shot lined up.
You think that's going to be a close fight, huh?
I think, obviously you're going to have Costa coming back more charged up than ever because he got embarrassed. And then you have Robert Whittaker, who, while he is elite, he is hittable. So there is some drama, but I do think that the tactics of Robert Whittaker will outlast Costa, and I think he'll actually win a decision over Costa.
Yeah, I got Whittaker by third or fourth round TKO finish. I think that the problem with Costa is that a lot of his hype, he had a lot of hype, right? And he intimidated opponents. And I think that the blueprint about how to beat him has been written by Israel Adesanya, and that is stick and move, right? Kick, and
that's what Whittaker does well.
And Whittaker is the king of stick and move. He is such an awkward striker. He's such a tricky striker. And
he does a lot of combinations with the hands and then following it with the high kicks. And
yeah, man, that's why I was going to say, I think Whittaker absolutely destroys Paulo. I was surprised by your saying it goes to a decision. I think Whittaker kills him.
That's because I give Paulo the benefit of the doubt that he's been embarrassed and he's training like a madman. So you're going to get the best version of him versus, you always want to think that, I always want to think that Robert Whittaker's aging, but then you look and he's like 29. So
yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's so young. He's
Like
fun.
Robert's been around forever. He's on the downside of his career. He's not even 30. It's like Max Holloway. So bizarre.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think it'll be a little closer because of Costa's fire in his belly.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't take too many.
But that didn't work
Too
out
much
very
advice
well
from
versus-
Coach Eric. Because Coach Eric didn't help him last time.
All right, and then I got another question queued up from Alex Behunin.
Alex, what up?
Oh, you know this person, okay?
No, I don't. I was pretending to.
Gentlemen, it's Alex Pishunin, and my question is, what do you think the UFC will do with Michael Chiesa? Do they give him Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, or do they wait and see if Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington fight? And if they don't do that, is Chiesa versus Covington the fight?
Nice, great question. Thanks
Great
for
question.
calling out Mike Chiesa. I didn't want to go the whole show without calling him out because he really did have an impressive performance.
Is this
Hear me out on
Alex's
this.
first question, by the way? Welcome, Alex. Thank you for
welcome,
asking.
Alex. Thanks
Thank
for the
you,
question.
Alex.
Honestly, I think Michael Chiesa versus Leon Edwards is the fight to make.
Whoa. Hold on. Leon Edwards has a fight with Chimaev booked.
Well, that's not booked. It's
No,
falling
it's
through
booked.
twice.
Oh, it's officially booked for March. Yeah.
Well, I don't care. I still think Leon Edwards versus Chiesa is the better matchup based on rankings and what's relevant. I mean, yeah, I get it. Chimaev is the flavor of the month. He's never beat a ranked opponent.
But the fight's
and now
booked.
he's fighting the fourth-ranked guy. No.
Do you have
So-
anyone else for Chiesa since Leon is literally booked?
Yes, I do. Who do you got someone for him?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay, so I know he keeps calling out Colby Covington. I have no
That
idea.
ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't know why, and I don't know why he keeps calling him out. Michael, I mean, come on, bro. Read the room a little bit. You're going to, that is not a good matchup for you. It's really not. I think that Chiesa...
But you don't know that. I mean, Michael Chiesa's looked very good. He took 0 damage versus that guy. So,
You think Chiesa could take Colby Covington? He lost
I'm not necessarily
He lost
saying
2 rounds
I
to
pick
Neil
Chiesa,
Magny, bro.
But I'm saying for you to just dismiss Michael Chiesa, who's a large welterweight,
Against
getting
Colby,
much
100% dismiss. 100%.
I think he has a great fight IQ. I think he's
He
actually
does.
getting better.
He is.
I mean, why would Wonder Boy fight Chiesa? That makes no sense. So I guess Chiesa's going to be fighting back. How about
Chiesa may be fighting Masvidal, to be honest.
Masvidal is a big money fight with the BMF title. He's not going to fight Michael Chiesa.
Masvidal can't just not fight forever.
Jorge
though.
Masvidal is not going to fight Michael Chiesa.
Then who's he going to fight? Covington? He said no. Wonder Boy 2? He said no.
I just think it's funny. You think that Leon Edwards 3 fighting Chimaev 15 is a more reasonable fight than 6 fighting 3.
No,
I get it.
I
It's booked. I get
don't.
it. It's
I'm
booked.
just going by Dana White's. I'm just saying what Dana White has already made. That's all.
I mean, for Michael Chiesa, I guess it has to be Stephen Thompson, but I don't understand why Stephen would take that fight, especially considering Jorge Masvidal is a rematch Stephen could take. You're talking about, I don't know, it just doesn't make much sense.
Yeah.
So I guess
Yeah.
Stephen Thompson, I guess, or Tyron Woodley, maybe.
I mean,
But I don't
Woodley's
think Tyron
fighting
Woodley's
Vicente
gonna-
Luque, I believe, soon.
I mean, none of those sound good for Woodley. I think he'd prefer his chances on the feet with Luque to a heavy grappler like Chiesa, because we saw what happened to Woodley
Yeah.
the last few fights with, intelligent grapplers.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I guess Michael Chiesa versus Stephen Thompson or the Leech.
Ooh, the Leech. Li Jinglang, what up?
He needs a fight, and both of those guys are kind of obscure and still looking to prove themselves. So Chiesa versus Zhang Liang would be interesting, at least.
I don't dislike that fight at all. I really don't. But okay, so do we have any more questions left?
That's going to do it.
Okay, so real quick before I hand it off to Fight Geek, guys, if you enjoyed the episode, if you could give us a quick 5-star review, hit the subscribe button, whether you're on YouTube, iTunes, whatever, hit the subscribe, give us the 5 stars, much appreciated. If you did not like the episode, please just get out of here. Don't rate us at all. And with that, I'm handing it all over to you. Go ahead, Fight Geek. Take us away.
All right, guys. As usual, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, and more. I'm at the Fight Geek MMA. He's at Phil the MMA Dude. We are at Split_podcast. It's 4 words, the Split Decision Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you in 2 weeks. Peace.
Peace.